Today I'm going to show you how I use photographs. If you watched my channel for a long time, you probably realise I've often said I don't copy photographs. It's kind of true in that I would never just copy a photograph direct like a photocopier. That's boring. But sometimes, especially in the case of the thylacine, Tasmanian tiger, I can't draw one from real life, and so I have to go on photo reference. This is how I do it, and notice I say photo reference, not copying photos, and that's the big difference. Check this out. Part 1. Observation. So let's say I've got this book here and I'm looking through and I think this is really handy information, and yeah, I could copy those, but I'd be breaking copyright. So if I was to go out into the wild and actually sketch these guys in real life, so what I'm doing here is I'm referencing the book, but I'm not copying from the book. I may be referencing the colour, but I'm not really even stealing the colour, because the colour is pretty much just the way the bird is. I'm using it as a source of reference. I'm not copying, so I'm not breaking copyright. 2. Experience. Now experience, if you know your shapes, your light source, your perspective and anatomy, you can pretty much draw straight out of your head without the need of any photo whatsoever. One thing I know pretty well is wombats. I know wombats because I've rescued little wombats, I've hand-raised wombats. In fact, I've hand-raised 12 wombats. So I know how many claws they have, I know the shape of their feet, I know what they look like when they're little, I know what they look like when they are half-grown, I know what they look like when they're full-grown, because I see them out in the wild quite often. And so because of my experience with wombats, coupled with my experience of drawing shapes, drawing light and shade, drawing textures, knowing the anatomy, I can pretty much draw or paint a wombat without any reference material whatsoever. So experience is great. And once you've experienced something, you can describe it and you can get very fantastic in the description. It can be quite whimsical and fun and quite even fantasy. And you're not breaking copyright. This leads me to part 3, imagination. To pull off imagination, you still need to know shapes, a light source, perspective, and anatomy. I'm going to talk about using multiple photographs of thylacines because I can't experience a thylacine. I've never hand-raised one or played with one. A quick exercise is to do a quick sketch in your sketch pad of a thylacine, or whatever you choose as your subject. Then I do a rough sketch, and what I'm doing here is I'm using multiple photographs to make up this image. Not one, but multiple. Now most of these photos are in the public domain, but if I was just grabbing them straight off Google, I'd be able to do this without breaking copyright. Also, when it comes to anatomy, I've sketched these guys in museums, their bones. I even have a thylacine skull that I can look at from all different angles. This also helps when I'm drawing this made-up picture. Now, the next bit is to make a convincing illusion. So from the word illusion, we get the word illustration. You're actually fooling the eye into thinking that a three-dimensional object is on a two-dimensional plane. That's illustration for you. A lot of it comes down to rendering, how you use your lines, your dots, your paint strokes, and this also comes down to style. Now, to make things convincing, you need to know where to put highlights, where to put shadows. You need to understand the texture of whatever it is that you are drawing, and in some cases you need to know the colors. These all help you render something, and what helps you get these is photo reference. This is where photo reference comes in. You have the idea, but the photo reference supports the idea. The photo reference is not the idea. So here I am rendering this thylacine picture. I've put some sheep down here. I've made up a rock. I mean, you could just go out in the wild and just sketch a rock, I guess. But because I was lazy, I just sketched one out of my head. And the final rendering is something like this, which will be part of an illustrated book that I'm doing. So let's recap, and this is what I'd like you to do. Here's a little exercise for you. 1. Find some photographs of a subject that you are interested in. Make sure there's at least 3, the more the better. 2. Use one of those photographs and do a quick sketch of it. Hopefully it has the whole body, or not just a section, but a large part of what you're drawing. 3. Knock down a thumbnail sketch, a very quick rough sketch of an idea, not using any photos at all. This is all about the idea, the number one important thing of all this. 4. Expand upon the thumbnail sketch, start doing a drawing, and you're drawing the subject probably from a different angle than any of the photographs you may have of it. And 5. Render the subject. And this is where you're using photographs to work out the highlights, the textures, the shade, the color. Use at least 2 photographs, don't rely upon one. In fact, the more photos the better. The more photos you use, the less likely you are of breaking copyright. And that's how I will reference photos. I don't directly copy. I have a bit of artistic flair there. I hope this video has been useful for you in your art journey. I'll see you in the next video.